Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Brackett. This is LandLife. This is episode 10. This is November 9th update. I've waited 2 days to update you. I've really been in the field, out there in the field, even though I'm tagged out. I have my best friend that came in. I've been able to help a lot of people with tracking deer and where they've been hit and how long to wait, and just kind of a whole bunch of strategy sessions, like where to hang, how to get in there. I've got an update on all the stuff that I've been up to the last 2 days. I wanted to make sure that I gave you really an up-to-date rut forecast, whitetail breakdown. My favorite days are November 8th through the 16th, especially this year, which is the year of 2023. And the moon is different every year. The dates seem to be in correlation that it could be just lucky. I always like November 1 and 2, but that full moon was October 28th. Killed my buck on the 28th. I killed the next one on November 3rd or 4th. Those days were going to be hit or miss, kind of like a pre-rut little deal. And then now we are full blown in the rut. I watched the cameras all day yesterday, and I watched in the field. I'm getting in the field reports from Iowa and Kentucky and Illinois, and we're watching 50 cameras here in Illinois. I watched yesterday afternoon the switch just get flipped, and I had a real big deer, one of my 6-year-old deer, walking around the farm, hitting scrapes all afternoon. I looked at my wife and I said, "Hey, let's go out and do you want to go out and kill this deer? This deer is going to walk into one of the 2 food plots, maybe both of them tonight." And and when I do consults and what I really do with my life as far as helping people, that's how easy it can become. It's not if you kill these deer, it's when you kill these deer. And it's about setting up these properties so that they're so bulletproof that when a deer walks, when that picture gets taken, when you can find the rhythm of that deer and what he's kind of wanting to do, you can set it up to where you're bulletproof, and you get a picture at 11 in the morning and he's hitting scrapes, and he's working a certain way. That deer did that all last year, over and over. That's just a matter of getting the weapon and going to the blind, having the tags, and in this case, having my wife be able to shoot a giant. And we just elected yesterday with people coming in from out of town, and I don't know, we just decided to not go. And he, sure enough, walked in daylight, walking around in that switchgrass. This is 158, 160 something inch 8-pointer. He is an absolute mega giant. And I'll post him on the Instagram. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Chris Brackett. This is the LandLife podcast. LandLife, because we absolutely love land. Me, my wife, my friend Danny, and his wife, we do real estate in Illinois. We're brokers in Illinois. I do consults all over the country. The name of our brokerage, managing broker, is Herman Brothers Realty, and I'm out of Central Illinois, but I travel all over the country doing consults, helping people get their properties set up to where they don't have to really think anymore. They can just enjoy hunting. They can enjoy that next step, which is getting those bulletproof stands, making sure that their blinds or ladders or really whatever they want to hunt out of, hang-ons, deep sets for the rut, staying on the outside, switchgrass. You've got these soft edges with these native grasses and these miscanthus walls that you can literally park your truck behind and walk out into your blind, and the deer never know you're there. Like, my goal, I was having this conversation last night, is my goal is for whitetail deer on the farm that I hunt to never know I exist. Half of them behind me still don't know I exist. And these deer are doing what they do. My goal is to make deer feel unpressured to do deer stuff, and then we go observe that, and we slowly just pick away at those opportunities. And it's not if they win, it's not if you win, it's when you win, because these deer are just, the more pressure that's put on around the properties or around the one you're hunting, man, the better your place gets. And so this is just kind of a hot take look at what is happening right now on November 9th in 2023 I'm going to break down like kind of what's happened this past week, what I think is going to happen, and then really what happened November 8th and November 9th, and then how I think that the 10th is just a ticking time bomb, and the 11th is a ticking time bomb. And if it doesn't happen on the 11th, there's a ticking time bomb for the 12th. And then what your mental state is being able to stay in that game, knowing that it's 70 degrees, it's 61 out this afternoon. But I know what I've seen in the last hour on my cell phone, getting my trail camera pics, and then being able to get the reports from what's going on in Iowa. Nathan just saw a giant. He's got a big giant flyer. He went in after this deer. He saw this buck and another shooter chasing a doe, and it's on. Whether you think it is or not, it is on. And don't get discouraged if it's not happening right where you are right now. You have to be the trail camera. The trail cameras are lying to you. So without further ado, let's get really into the breakdown, the rut breakdown. November 8th. November 8th started out as, to me, one of the hottest days in the rut or in the deer season that I have maybe ever experienced in November. I don't even know how to describe it other than I was sighting in my buddy's crossbow. I was out getting things ready and doing yard work on November 8th, one of my favorite days in the world to hunt whitetails. And while I'm out there, I'm just thinking of everybody that's out there hunting, that's worked their whole year to take this time off, and how tough it has been for me in the past to be able to sit out there in this heat and keep mentally fixated and focused and keep my lighthearted in the fact that I'm trying to enjoy it. And so my prayers went out to everybody yesterday that was doing all day sits out there hunting. I know how horribly brain numbing and defeating that was. But I can tell you this, just like the Bible states about the fact that you reap and sow in two separate time periods in your life. The good book says that you will sow, and these are the good deeds, and these are the hunts that maybe kind of almost break you. And then you have to find how to enjoy that and know that you're in a good area and know that you're hunting, and you could be working. You could be doing something a lot worse than sitting in a blind or a stand enjoying the world. And then I know through hard work in my life and in deer hunting that those days that feel like they are so draining are the ones that keep you focused for the next week. And that is exactly what we're looking at. You've had 4 or 5 days of the most ridiculously hot weather ever. You've also seen whitetail buck deer that are fatter than they've ever been. You've got these does that are fatter than they've ever been. They have had ridiculous browse. They have had really corn harvested early, and a lot of it. You've had a bumper acorn crop across the Midwest, even up to PA and stuff. They've had incredible acorns, and these deer have been held up eating acorns and getting fatter than they've ever been. I know a lot of guys right now. My friend Grant, his one of his first times hunting Illinois on a lease, he put in a last minute food plot. He's got some greens. I know a lot of my other friends that have turnips and standing beans and all these food plots. And I make a living at Game Changers planting food plots and teaching people how to do food plots. And I know right now that these food plots are not the places to hunt. They really have not been the last 4, 5, 6, 7, even I'd go up to like the last 2 weeks. They really haven't been the places where the does are congregating, where the bucks are checking and hitting scrapes and stuff. They just really haven't been because they're so fat. And when the weather is above average temps, which it is right now, they're not coming to food. So when you sit down that evening and go, I'm going to go hunting in the morning, you have to ask yourself, where am I going to hunt? Do I have a stand in the timber? Can I get into the timber in the morning and set it out? That is where you should be. But it is changing a little bit as this weather comes down a little bit. I think you're going to be getting into a point where you're going to want to be sitting on a little food. Remember, they haven't eaten in a week. They do like to browse. They do like to eat. So I think what I'm trying to say, I do tend to jump around all the time. It's part of the romance of Chris Brackett, the Brackenese, just all over the madness of whitetails and sorting through it as I talk. But I think when you were thinking about, hey Chris, where do I ... are the questions that I get. Where do I hunt? I had a question, 70 acres today of tillable ground, and I have 10 acres of timber and ditch and whatever. And the easiest question for me is, the easiest answer for that is, if the standing crops are up, this corn was up, the guy's like, where should I hunt? I'm like, just get in that timber and be the trail camera. These trail cameras are lying to you guys. They're lying. Like, you have all this money spent in trail cameras and you're relying on this technology. And I'm telling you right now that the trail cameras are lying. They are picking up maybe, listen to this, they're picking up maybe 3 to 8% of what is actually going on out there in the real world, because deer aren't going like they're doing in October, from food to bed, storing up fat, getting ready for the rut. They were like squirrels coming out of the park to come get a bunch of walnuts and acorns and then take them back, and they're building their nest. They had things to do. Now we're in it. We're in the rut. And now they're just kind of hanging out going, okay, we've prepared. We've done all this stuff. Now the does some of them are in heat. Some of them are not in heat. They're all getting harassed, and they really don't want to be harassed. So they're all kind of just hanging out. The gentleman that asked me the question, where do I hunt? Now we're backtracking to the main question, which was, do I go to timber or do I go to the field? I'm going to go really hunting 101. If you are going hunting in the morning, I would always suggest going to the timber in the morning. All right. The deer like to be nocturnal animals out into the fields, even when it gets to this time of the year when it's the rut. The does and the fawns and the bucks, the little bucks and the big bucks, and everybody is out in some field. This is the flow I talk about when I teach on my consults, when I teach on going to different pieces of property throughout the whole year and taking, that in depth and teaching how to break down properties. You are looking at this flow that these whitetails come out of this grass and these ditches and this timber and all the edges of that timber where they really truly live, and they're going out after dark, nocturnal creatures out into the big fields, not to eat, but just to go do their thing. They own the night. They're like vampires. They own the night. Think of it like that. Like, you've seen the deer in the headlights. You've heard about the deer in the headlights. You've heard about, hey, I was driving home and there was 3 big bucks standing in this guy's backyard. They own the night. They know we're not out there. So they're a nocturnal creature. They go by a moon, not a sun. So when you hear about that red moon, you hear about that full moon, you hear about these things, they're really just traveling by the moon, and what they do in their habits and weather is the most. Always weather. Weather is number one for me. What's the weather say? Then what's the moon say? What's the barometer say? Right now we're 30 barometer and dropping. But that 101 thing is, if you are out there going hunting, then you need to be hunting the timber in the morning. And right now on November 9th, November 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, it's going to be very mild. You're going to have 50 degrees in the morning. You're going to have a low of maybe 30s. This is in central Illinois. So you can determine from where you are from that lateral line, central Illinois, you go up a little north, you're going to be a little cooler. You go down south, you're going to be a little warmer. You're going to have very, very mild days, very comfortable to sit long hours. Remember, your trail camera right now is lying to you. They are lying to you. I haven't had a shooter buck in 3 weeks. Me neither, bro. Me neither. And I've got some of the best farms that I know of, and they're not on there. Why? They're a little bit locked down, but they're locked down because they're big and fat like me, and they're standing there going, well, I'm not going to run unless I have to. And I'd rather fight these 3 bucks off, and me and my little doe are going to hang out here by the creek. And as they spend 2 or 3 days with these does and they breed these does and they go looking for a new one, they're going to roll through that property one time. This is the time to get on those ridges. If you listen to those other podcasts, this is the time. These bucks are coming off of these does. They're a little family group making baby deer. They're up and moving. And when they decide to stand up, they're going from timber to timber. They're going from ditch to ditch. They're going to do it once, and they're going to do it until they find another one. They're going to sit with her for 2 or 3 days. They're going to kind of lock down. They're going to kind of chill. They're going to kind of hang out, and then it's on to the next one. So I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this, it's November 9th. You need to be figuring out how to get in the woods. I don't care if you got to take days off. If you are wanting to really do the grind and kill a really, really nice deer, this is not the time to be shooting does. They're squirrelier than you can ever imagine, because they've been getting chased by every little buck running around, running around all over the place. So don't shoot the does. They're all wound up. They're not going to taste good anyways. Wait till later in the season. Shoot those out on a field edge here in a couple weeks. But right now, if you're out there and you're looking for a good buck, they're going to be cruising. They're going to be going from this little ditch over here to this little ditch, and they're going to use the wind in their favor, and the wind's going to be blowing out of some bottom that they're trying to scent check that whole thing. These little bucks are looking at trying to weasel in a little bit and pull a doe off these bigger deer. So in the afternoons, the way I hunt and the way I recommend is I would hunt the field edges. I would get in these little grass areas. Don't invade too much, even though it is the rut. Think about it on where, if you were going to cover property from one end to the other, and you wanted to just evaluate a property. Let's say you were getting ready. You called me and we were getting ready to buy a property, and you only had 2 hours to see the property. And your wife's like, you better be home. The kid's got a game. And you were going to go, and I dropped you off one side of the property and I said, I'll pick you up on the other. How would you make it through that farm to check all those perfect deer X's and those, oh, it's got a creek. Oh, it's got these big oak flat. Oh, look, I'm going to look on the map. If you only had 2 hours to look at 100-acre property, how fast and how would you go about getting around that farm? My job is to tell you ways to kind of tell you the secrets of how I go through a farm, or how a buck would travel through a farm, and try to correlate that with a way that you could learn. So if your wife said 2 hours and you were going across this farm, this is the same pattern that this deer has, let's say 24 hours in a day. That means he has to check 12 areas. And if he's only got 2 hours each area, he is going to have to work that property, and he is going to have to find that golden nugget, which is this beautiful little doe with these big doe eyes that wants to have his babies. And he's got to look out for other bucks. He's got to look out for hunters. He's got to look out for coyotes. He's got to look out for danger. So number one, how would you go about looking at a property and saying, I have 2 hours, I have an hour, I have 30 minutes to get through this property, to just see what I need to see if I'm going to buy it. I have to put an offer in 2 hours. Well, that is how you would look at it when going, where would a buck go? Buck's just on the neighbors. He gets done breeding the doe, or he's following the doe and somebody was doe hunting. They killed the doe, and next thing you know, he's like, okay, my girlfriend's dead. So he goes, okay, I got to find a new one. How would he traverse this 100 acres, this 200 acres, this 300 acres, whether it's all field or all ditches or all timber? How would he see that whole thing in a short period of time, like a race? Those are the fast travel areas. The pinch points. A lot of people are like, I just don't know what, when these whitetail experts are talking, I don't really know what they're talking about a pinch point. Where is like a pinch point or like a rut funnel? A rut funnel. If if you had a Krispy Kreme or a Chick-fil-A off of an exit in your state, one of the biggest highways, well, all those cars going by, that getting on and off that off ramp to check that Chick-fil-A that they're giving away free sandwiches or whatever. That is your rut funnels. These are these little bitty areas that everybody has to go to get what they want, and that's where they break. They could go on this flat all over here. They could go on this bottom, but when they come up this ridge and they got to neck down and go through this one little gap, and that's what you call a rut funnel, or an area that all the deer have to travel. These are the corridors, and these are the spots that, as these bucks get off these does in the next 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 days, these are the ones to spend time in that stand, to push the envelope on scent a little bit, maybe not call as much, but if you were bent out of shape on the last little tidbit I put on Facebook or Instagram about calling, I wasn't saying that you can't call deer in. I was saying when it's 70 degrees and you're trying to outsmart some big fat deer that knows everything that's going on, you going burp, burp, burp with your little plastic thing and snort wheezing and whatever. I was literally saying that if my friend had baby back ribs over here and my wife was over here wearing a bikini and everything was going down, and I would have to choose on whether I wanted to eat my favorite food or go hang out with my wife looking all hot and delicious, I'm going to promise you right now, if I'm wearing a fur coat, I got an extra 50 pounds of fat on me, and it's 70 degrees outside, I'm just going to really think about really, really hard if I want to go chase her around a cornfield or if I want to go eat them baby back ribs, because it's too hot to be eating baby back ribs at, let's say, 78 degrees and wearing a giant fur coat. And to chase my wife around, well, I would just rather have her come to me and we would just hang out until it gets a little cooler or we get the air turned down. I don't mean to, if you're eating or whatever, I don't mean to gross you out thinking about me in a fur coat, but if you get that scenario, what I was really saying was, people think about the scenario in a very common state of going, if it's really, really hot, this buck doesn't want to be chasing down a marathon, come running into your burp, burp, burp. Save them. Save them. I know I told you, stop. Don't do it. Shut up. You're an idiot. It was for your own good. It was like brotherly love. I was just telling you that to say, hey, don't do it yet. It's not time. It's not time. This is a bell curve. This is the rut starts. Oh, that guy's fighting over there? I'm going to go over and kind of see what he's fighting about. I've heard them fight all week. I'm kind of sick of them fighting, right? I'll wait. I just wait. I've been there. I've seen that. That's kind of what these deer are thinking. And yes, people have killed all these bucks and rattled these deer in. But overall, last week, prior to November 9th, they just kind of weren't having it. It was too hot. They're not in the mood. I'm telling you right now, grab your rattle grunt crews, burr, burr, whatever you want to do. Right now is the time. They're all confused. They're all worked up. They're all horny. They had sex for the first time in 365 days. They fought off like 14 dudes. They're all out of their mind. They're literally drunken idiots of testosterone. And now is the time to go ahead and hit them with the old little snort wheeze action, a little brr, and a little and do whatever you have to and hit those horns together. Make sure you're grinding them. Make sure you get ready as soon as you stop rattling. Make sure you're watching. And now I'm telling you to go ahead and rattle. Do it. It is time. November 9th. This is LandLife Podcast. And I'm telling you right now that it is time to get in the game, invade your spots, invade those perfect places where they love to hang out, and it smells just like a nasty elk wallow, and because they've been down in their rut, and this is the time to go because all the chips are in the middle of the table. It's all in. Go time is here. Green light, go. Invade those. Do lots of stand time. And your trail cameras are lying to you. They're lying to you. The bucks are there. The does are there. They're moving. They're in and out. And it's happening. no matter if it's hot or not, you need to mentally focus in on going and spending as much time in that stand as you can. The 2023 rut is upon us. Don't let the fact that the temperatures are breaking your spirit, right? They are truly breaking your spirit. November 8th, yesterday, I had a giant deer stand on his feet, hit a scrape all by himself. Just incredible video of this deer listening, hitting the scrape with his antlers, peeing in the scrape, working the scrape, and then you see, like in the next video, he hears something and he's just snapping his head. He's checking the wind, and you just really tell a lot by these little videos off this Tacticam on this one scrape in 45 seconds. And that just tells me their demeanor and their mood. And I really think the best is yet to come right now. November 9th was very, very still. The first hour of the morning, we had deer all over on the cameras. One farm was on fire. The other farm, it was okay last night. This evening, I waited all day long to go ahead and watch the cameras come alive because I really thought November 9th, this evening, would be hot. It wasn't until the last hour of daylight that it exploded, and there was deer everywhere. A lot of 3-year-olds just chasing does in food plots for the first time in 2 weeks. Does coming to clover. Bucks moving across a cut soybean field, heading somewhere on a mission. I really think that November 8th was the first time that the switch flipped, and I really think that it is go time, and you need to get in the stand and spend a lot of time. All right, we've hit on this a million times right now. Just go be in the stand. In the mornings, go to the timber. In the evenings, and when I say evenings, it's getting dark at 5 o'clock. This isn't like hunt the last 2 hours of the day stuff. If you're going into hunt, y'all better start being there at noon or 1 o'clock. Like, how like early season, we kind of bide our time. We kind of like, oh, I'm going to go hunting. I'll be there. Like, I'm going to hunt for like 2.5 hours. This is the time of year that if you really want to be a big buck hunter, your buck better be there early. I'm watching all these bucks that've been hanging out with the does or hanging out in these little areas. They get so antsy in the afternoon that they're on their feet at 2 o'clock. They're on their feet at 3 o'clock, and they're cruising to another spot. And they're past a couple stands, past a couple cameras, down into the thick stuff, and they may be 2 farms away by the time it gets dark. And this is when the big boys get shot. So you need to be the guy shooting the big boy. Be out in your stand an extra hour earlier. Just challenge yourself. There's your big brother, Uncle Bubby, right here. Uncle Bubby Brackett telling you that you need to challenge yourself to be out there an extra hour early this next 10 days. Okay, 10 days from right now. We got gun season coming up in Illinois, and we've got 10 days right now that are going to be some of the greatest days. I truly believe this. Some of the greatest rut activity days, even with it being hot, that we have ever seen. And if I hadn't taken vacation, if I hadn't tagged out already, I would spend the next 10 days. You're going to take 2 or 3 of them that deer are going to lock down, and they're just not going to move. You're going to have the bad pressure. You're going to have an east wind. Something's going to happen. But overall, on an average, you get to the Hall of Fame in Major League Baseball by hitting 380, 350, 400 batting average for lifetime. This is incredible Hall of Fame stuff. So if you're batting 300, you're winning the game, because all you need is that one shot. It's that one extra hit. It's that one extra hour. It's that one extra buck. And if you fooled 6 bucks and they're just not a shooter yet, you need to fool one more, and it'll be the biggest buck of your life. So I challenge you to stay in an hour later in the morning. If you're getting out of your stand before noon right now, I think it's a mistake. I don't care if it's 60 or 70 degrees. I don't care if you got to go tonight and buy some handheld video game device. I don't care if you got to download some new stuff on your phone, take your headphones and put in your headphones, listen to this podcast, listen to a podcast and or some music and eat some snacks and take some extra food. Whatever you have to do to stay out there an extra hour or so, don't be scared. If you get bored sitting in a stand or your back hurts, or I get the back hurting thing, by the way, get down and go get in a nice area where you can see the edge of a field and you got the wind in your favor and sit there and eat your lunch. Break up the monotony, but be out there, man. It's real easy to sit on the edge of a field and see a big buck coming and hit him with a call or watch where he's going to be and get a shot on him. But you have to be out there. This is from my friend Chad. He was just literally like, I want you to talk about the fact that you have to mentally prepare and mentally take over your thoughts. And he was like, how should I tell you that you have to not let the technology of the cameras ruin your life by not going hunting? Go enjoy hunting. Number 2 is to say, mentally, I'm going to stay an extra hour. I'm going to challenge myself to stay an extra hour. I am going to mentally go out an extra hour early. And I am not, I know you're not going to really believe this stuff, but I am not a all-day hunter. This is how my all-day sets, my all-day sits have always started like this. I go out in the morning. I don't even take a backpack. I don't take a fanny pack. I've got my rangefinder here. I've got my weapon. I have my heated socks. I've got my heated vest, depending on, when it's cold or whatever. And I normally have like Uncrustables in my pockets, some type of snack, and I've got a bottle of water I keep in my pocket. And most of the days that I go out hunting, and I see what tends to be normally a hot doe getting chased by a young buck, 1-year-old, 1.5, 2 years old. They're getting chased, and you can tell it's on. He's grunting, burr, burr. She's running through and stopping, and and they're running all over. And so when I see that, the greatest things have then transpired in days, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and so on and so forth. The next 8, 9, 10 days. I've watched the greatest mornings in the history of my life and my hunting memories start with one spike buck, a 6-pointer chasing one doe. He normally runs them in a thicket, and there's some buck that's been hanging out there cruising somewhere, and he normally gets up with them about 8:30 or 9 o'clock after he slowly walks off the hill because he's the big shot. And the little guy got so much attention started that the big boy pays attention, just like I was talking about the feverish stuff, about the running and all the stuff. And now the chase is on. The further these does run from these smaller bucks, the more attention from the bigger deer they get. So as this morning would start, then all of a sudden they would go into a thicket, and about 20 or 30 minutes later, sometimes right off the bat, here would come a big buck with that same doe. And now the rut is on, the full chase is beginning. Next thing you know, some other bucks run in. And when these does come through your area and they're that hot and they have these big deer on you, those are the days to end up staying, because you have a hot doe that is within a couple hundred yards of you. Her scent is all over the woods, and there are normally going to be 4- and 5-year-old deer that are trying to find the commotion and find the doe that just ran through there, even though the big boy might have taken her and run her all the way down to the lake or whatever. But her scent is in the air. Her pheromones are in the air. And you will turn around and look, and there'll be another buck on this trail in that area trying to find her. And that is what's happening across the country right now. Or these things are happening on, 1,000-acre farms or 200-acre areas or 1,000-acre areas, like in this big, you think of it as a big, like a city block. And as that's all happening, there is one party going on. And as that scent blows across through the timber and across through these fields, that's why a really windy day on a rut day is a big buck slaying day. That's why today, November 9th, is so calm outside. None of the deer are moving. Everybody's scared to make a noise. If that doe is running around making noise and rut noises and grunts and whatever, and the commotion starting, the whole woods will light up in that one little area and it'll be feverish. But if everybody stays calm and quiet, then the pandemonium doesn't really break out. And then because she's probably not wanting that much attention and the other bucks aren't wanting that much attention, so he'll just kind of keep her in his lair. But you get a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind and life is good. That doe scent and even that dominant buck scent, he wants it to blow, and that doe and the smells of the rut are traveling a quarter mile, a half mile, a couple hundred yards. Those days that wind is consistently blowing 15 and 20 miles an hour as a front gets there. Just like your dog going out in the dead of winter to this, this crispy, cold air with this wind whipping. If you guys have dogs, you know what I'm talking about. If it's the coldest, snowiest, blowiest night, your male dog is gone, son. Gone. He's going to make you late for work. You're going to be looking for him. You're like, he's going to freeze to death. No, he just caught a whiff of a dog in heat from a mile away. I believe that the studies have shown a couple miles in dogs and deer and things. Why a deer's senses are so peculiar and so correlated with like a bloodhound or a dog. And if these dogs can smell and coyotes can smell for miles when there's a doe in heat, then this is what is happening out there. And so you may have nothing going on at your farm, and it's going to take one doe to get hot. This is also why I tell people to leave their farms alone until Halloween, because if these does haven't got shot and they're living in just some little ditch, these does are bound to get hot. And then you get a nice little wind that drifts across a quarter mile or a mile of open field, open air, and bang, this big boy living in this other ditch says, forget you guys, or does, I've already bred you, I'm out. And he all of a sudden is in this ditch. You get one trail camera picture and he's there for 3 days, 36 hours, and he's going to breed her, and you can get in there and make a move and kill him. That's how some of the biggest deer in the world get killed, especially out here in Illinois, living in one of these ditches, and they jump him, and he's just been out in this ditch all year with these does. And it really is that simple. So the recap on that is just, you have to be out there. Don't trust the trail camera. It's lying to you. A good windy, consistent day can take a doe's scent a mile. Be out there, challenge yourself for an extra hour in the morning. And go an extra hour early in the evening. Try to shorten that lunch break. If you're going to go hunting in the morning and the evening, just shorten that little lunch break. Go back to the truck. Switch stands in the middle of the morning. Don't second guess your stand choices, because if this big deer has been at 1 or 2 or 3 of your stands and he's done it at night and you feel like he's on a little circuit, most of the time, in an expert's opinion, and as expert being me in this case with giant whitetails and teaching people how to kill these big ones. It's not arrogant. It's just straight up facts of me knowing what I have to tell myself, and what I see all the time is if that deer is going to come, that big buck's going to go in front of one stand, there's a pretty good chance if he's on that little, I'm searching for a doe, he's going to go in front of one of the other stands too. So if you've got your stands in really good spots, just stay steadfast to those stands. Take in the information. You're already smart. You're already enough of a woodsman to be taking in what's going on out there. And you are literally just let it happen. Stop jumping around. Let it happen. Everybody right now that's been sitting over these little food plots and this stuff over the last week, and you're very disappointed and you're very beat from doing it and go, this is stupid. I can't believe I haven't seen any deer. Let us have some 30-degree nights and you're going to see them come back and start hitting greens and feeding a little bit more. And it's going to give you a little bit hope, but it's just not one of those years where they've got the feed bags on. It's too warm and they're too fat. Hopefully they start socializing again in these food plots and eating a little bit of greens and stuff, but don't look for them to be just strapping on the food bag and keep hunting these food sources. Listen to me, it's a bad move. It's a bad decision. Hunt the thickets. Go into the thickets. Go find out where the thickest crap that you know of that's out there. Get a stand in there. Get in there. Even as gun season approaches, go get a new ladder stand, something where you can look into these thickets and watch them. These does are hiding from the bucks. The bucks are searching for the does, and the bucks are fending off all the other little bucks that are walking around the place looking to squeak in there and, get his genes onto the next little crop of little baby deer. And if you've got a buck using a certain area, is all over your trail cameras with a doe, he's got about 2 or 3 days, and then he's going to get up and he's going to go. He might leave your farm. You may go 3 miles away and get killed. You're waiting right now for these bucks to get off the doe. And so you just have to hang out, and you don't have to overthink it. You just have to hang out until he gets up off that doe, away from her, and goes looking for a new one and comes back home, or makes a new home on your farm, and you have to be there. This is not brain surgery. This is not rocket appliances. That's an Aerofliction pun, by the way. And any of you guys in Canada would know that that is I forget what that show is up there, but Bubble says it's not rocket appliances, and it's just not. It's just a matter of willpower, mental decisions, the sacrifice of your decisions, and the work that you did in the off season. You'll remember where the bucks were, what they were doing last year. Go get in those spots and sit it out. You're going to capitalize. And I want to hear from you. I want you to send me. I just got a text while we're sitting here. He gone. Beautiful buck right here in Ohio. And then I got another one that went down last night with this crazy story. You guys aren't going to believe this story. If you think the rut's not going on, and you think that, that the big boys aren't out there, I watched a 200-inch deer come through my phone. My buddy sent me this 200-inch deer. It's got kickers and drop tines, and it's a dream deer. This guy just bought this property. This gentleman gets a hold of me. I do an online consult through whitetaillandlife.com, which is, if you're wanting a consult to help you kill a deer, set up your property, then you can't afford the boots on the ground and me coming to your place and coming there and doing a full consult. Let me just help you online. We share a screen. We go over it, new strategies. It's great to get fresh eyes on a property. It's great to even go over tonight or tomorrow or the next day, going over the stuff that we're talking about, where we can get you a little bit closer. My friend, this client, is hunting his property. It's by a big, fast 2-lane highway, but it's a state route. And this giant deer is on all of his cameras. He's hunting this deer religiously. It's a once in a lifetime, bigger than anything I've ever killed. And as he's sitting there, he hears a car hit a deer. Boom! Hits the deer. Doesn't think anything of it. He said, "I'll check it out when I get out of the stand." And when he gets out of the stand, he goes out to his truck, and there is this 200-incher laying there dead. Just got hit by a car while he's hunting it on his property. And if you talk about, some of the things that I want to ask God when I get up there, Yahweh, is that one, I probably won't care when I get there, but the whitetail deer is such a fascinating deer, is that we can spend all this time, all this money, all this heartache, that most of you guys are stressed out because it's 70 degrees. You can't kill this buck. And in 30 seconds, the buck of your lifetime can run by, or it can run out in the middle of the road and get hit by a car. And what do you do with that, right? The mental things of what do you do with that? You get a salvage tag, you get the deer. He got the deer, he got the salvage tag. But how heartbreaking to have the story end that way. And that's just life. That's just a deer. That's just keeping it all in perspective, because once you get that big buck, then what? right? You got to make sure everything's good at home. So I got to go over my notes right here to make sure everything I have. So you got November 9th, literally the switch. It completely flipped yesterday, where I watched big deer get up and walk around on my farm in daylight. That's what you need to know. That is a big change from the days prior to that. This means that they're actively searching. They're conserving their energy because they're hot. They're running around until they find that next doe. And this goes on and on for the next 2 to 3 days. This buck is on for 2 or 3 days. He gets off this doe. He's on for 2 or 3 days. And so you're having your mature bucks that are kind of expanding their zones, and they're going. So you have to be there when they switch up and they get off these does. Or you have to be in these thickets where these does are in these thickets doing their thing, and they lock them down, and you're right there, and you have to just be out there. And you have to learn how to figure out how to enjoy hunting, not enjoy killing, and enjoy these unbelievable moments that only sweet November and the first 20 days of November bring each year, because we only get so many go rounds around this sun, man. And we only get so many of these sweet Novembers. And this is what drives a lot of us in this worldly world that we live in. Even though this isn't our home, these are our pleasures. Make sure they're not idols. Chasing these deer aren't idols. Make sure your family's taken care of, and make sure you're mentally handling this. Make sure you're mentally handling this well as you go through. My last thing I have here, this where I'm going to talk about. If you can't hang right now with the heat and the horrible rut and the horrible activity you're seeing, and your trail cameras that you spent so much money on, and all of this stuff, if you're not handling it correctly, then you probably need to question why you are hunting and what you are doing with your life. And you need to probably start praying and pray to Jesus Christ. He is the only one that can save you. And if you are defined by these big whitetails and defined by this action that you're hoping to see and all this stuff, just go hunting, figure out why you're so upset about it. And if you're stressed about it, then something's wrong. If you're stressed about it and these big giant deer are mess you up so bad that they cause you true strife, then they're becoming idols. And that is just one of the hardest things for men, hardest things for broken men to admit, that when we create things as idols, we have to lay that at our Savior's feet, or our Creator's feet, through Jesus Christ, and just ask for this to not be an idol. That doesn't mean not go hunting. That means put on different eyes, pray for a different look, pray for a different way to see the desires of your heart. He will change them. That is our Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I got to ask you that if you are stressed, if you are literally ruining your hunt and your November, then you need to ask for forgiveness, and you just need to lay it at his feet. And we're here for you. Message me. I can teach you how to pray. It says in the Bible how to pray. And really, he already knows where you're at and what you're doing. Just go to him, right? If you've never done it before, you can be saved right now. You can just say, Lord in heaven, I pray to you. I pray for anybody listening. I pray for anybody that is hearing this broadcast, and the emotion that's welling up in my eyes as I pray to you, Lord, that there's somebody that needs to hear this right now. I truly believe it. And I'm praying for all those souls that you've saved my life. You've moved that mountain in front of me through all the trials and tribulations, through whitetails, through making them idols, and then learning how to re-love your creation and re-love teaching men and people that will listen and become woodsmen. And Lord, I just ask you to be with those that are completely broken and lost at this rut, as silly as it sounds about silly deer, Lord. I know that these deer are just deer. They're not an idol. And the things that are making us mad, and the things that we're going through with this pressure on us to succeed and have a big buck and have a great season, and have what the neighbor has, and covet that, the covetousness. I ask you, Lord, that those things just go ahead, and that pain that we're going through just shows us that we just don't give control to you, Lord, that we just don't give control to you, and that we just don't sacrifice, and just say that these are false idols, Lord, take these away from us and let us just have peace. In Jesus' name, amen. And that's as easy as it is, man. It'll bring tears to your eyes. It'll make you humble. It'll make you see the sunrise, and it'll make you love that buck running through that timber chasing that whitetail, and how unbelievable the creation is in being able to do that. And so I hope I hit on everything. I talked a little bit about what I did today. I went out and brushed in a turtle blind today, and a blind turtle blind is a green plastic that will outlive me. It's literally a turtle, and I cut the holes out with a Sawzall. I take a webbing, a truck webbing made out of elastic, like elastic bungee, and I go get them and I leave them outside in the leaves for a month, or in this case, I left one out that I've had on a blind. We took that out today, man, and we put that on the edge of a field. And the goal is to try to kill this deer named Descendant, curse after him. We're going to put out doe fonda, bedded mounted doe decoy, and a DSD decoy. And he's going to hunt them from the ground and get in there and hunt like all day, middle of the day. And when Descendant finally gets off one of these does and he's cruising through the switchgrass, whatever, he's going to rattle at him, grunt at him, whatever. And he should have some really cool footage that I'll share on my Instagram and my Facebook at Chris Brackett LandLife, and go follow them and make sure you're following them. Make sure you're sharing this podcast and everything. But that's what we did today, was we put in that turtle. I invaded everywhere else that Kirk wasn't hunting, because we were getting our farm combined of beans and corn. And so that allows that water in a mud puddle just to get it muddy. And then as that mud settles down, man, it's perfect. When tractors are moving and combines are moving and things are moving, that is when you invade. You're just a farmer. You put new trail cameras up. You make last minute stands. That's all I'm doing in the middle of the day right now for clients, for LandLife clients, for Game Changer clients. I'm helping. Don't go after your deer for 6 hours. Make sure that you're not getting down and getting your arrow if you didn't see the deer fall down. And then putting these turtles in and coming up with plans where we can go get one of the ladder stands that we have out in the yard that's scent free and been sitting out there. We can go throw that up tomorrow, and we're getting these core areas. One of the things I can tell you is you can't kill the big buck in some other area. You have to know that if you're trying to make a decision on what deer to hunt, and he is daylighting, or he is just showing his presence at night, bang, 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 on these edges of this field, in this location, in this 10 or 20 acres, in this 3 or 5 acres, and he is showing you pictures at night, he is showing you pictures during the day, you'll ask, what's the secret to killing him? Go hunt him. You can't kill him a mile away. You can't kill him on the couch. You can't kill him sitting here. And if you think you're a big buck hunter, you think you're a big buck killer, you think you're a deer hunter, you better be up extra early. You better be so stupid, just like me, that you can just sit on that stand and sit on that stand and sit on that stand and just go brain dead, because that's the only way to kill these big deer now is tree stand, seat time, blind stand, whatever you have to do, you have to be out there. Look, man, I love you guys. I don't love you like come to Thanksgiving love you, but I love the fact that you support me, you're watching this, and even if you hate me, I'm going to tell you some cool stuff about killing big deer, because I'm good at it. I'm good at land stuff. I'm good at big deer. I'm good at shooting them. And I'm a miserable human. I live on this planet. There's only one that's perfect, and that's Jesus. And I will continue to be a work in progress, and I will continue to put my life out there in front of everybody and show my craziness and show all this, because I am right now on a journey that I'm going to share with men, and I'm going to share with people, and be unashamed of it, because men are lonely, broken, and all we really want to do is take care of those around us, take care of those that we love. And you're not alone. You're not alone, man. You're not alone. You feel like you should have tattoos. You feel like you should be wearing black. You feel like that Johnny Cash, like that you're just hurting. You're not alone. You're not alone. I'm here. There's other men right down the road. There's other men at church. There's men's groups. We'll pray with you, man. I just love doing this. I love having a voice out in a broken world, and we're a light. Got a bunch of lights around me, but the truth and life through Jesus Christ, and He loves you, and everybody can be saved. Doesn't matter how broken you are. Doesn't matter how ashamed you are, man. I can't tell you that when that 2x4 hits you, you just let it all go. It's life changing, and it's progressive sanctification. It's just more and more every day. I'll lose it at least once a day. I'll lose it several times a day, and I just am reminded about what the gospel says, what the word says. It's not about a religion. It's not about anything but a love and an understanding and a guidance and a hand, and not knowing that you're not alone. I'm Chris Brackett. This is LandLife. Love you. Peace out.